fighting for the Tivus crown because their father died. Who opposed to the burial of Polynesius and why?
Antigone.
Because it's known that the soul and the spirit of the dead people wanders without peace.
What does this act bring?
Creon punishes Antigone, but she manages to escape and commits suicide, provoking the death of the rest of her family except for Creon. This Greek tragedy starts with the fight for power between Eteocles and Polynesius. But when both are killed when they try to murder each other, the heir to the throne, Creon, believes that only Eteocles is worthy of burial. This starts a family feud between Antigone, Ismene, and their brother, since Antigone believes that Polynesius also deserves a worthy burial, as she serves the gods, and it's known that the spirit of the unburied tend to wander without peace. Creon does not believe that Polynesius deserves a burial, since he tries to convince her that ever since they were children, Polynesius has been a rebellious brother and has always been against the family values. Attempts by Antigone and some by Ismene, Creon manages to punish them and arrest them and intends to hang them. But then Antigone manages to escape and she commits suicide. This starts of various deaths and transcends into the tragedy, since Haemon, Antigone's fiance, also commits suicide after pronouncing his profound love for her. Haemon's mother also commits suicide by learning of the death of her son, and Ismene as well, and leaves Creon to deal with grief all by himself.
Wow.
You can connect this story with a real life, because royal rivalries are always present in monarchies like Spain and England. And in my own experience, I have 3 brothers that are always fighting, and then my father won't talk to one of my brothers, and I'm always in the middle of this kind of troubles. And can you connect this story to one of your personal experiences?
Yeah, I think this story relates to my family because I have a sister, so when I want something that she has or she wants something that I have, we fight and we sometimes end up pretty mad at each other. So I don't kill her obviously, but we fight very often because of that.
In this reading, I'm gonna explain 5 different words that we don't understand. The first one is túmulo, that means montón de tierra o de piedras que se ponen sobre una tumba. The second one is riada, que significa avenida, inundación, crecida de un río. The third one is ignominiosamente, que quiere decir vergonzosamente. And the fourth is la diosa Nick, que era la persona de la victoria entre los griegos, y Epiteo también de Atenas, a quien se presentaba al lado de una corona de laurel de una mano y en la otra una palma volando con una gran rapidez. And the last one is Baco, que es otro de los hombres 11, Dionisio, dios del que se da noticia en puertas de acceso. In the book Annuals Antigone, we find 5 different words that we don't understand. The first one is dumb, that means destined to an unhappy end. The second one is nighting, that means the act of a person or thing that nights. The third one is premontion, that means a state of balance between a host and an infection agent. The fourth one is bother, that means to give a trouble, and the last one is finally, that means liking, brightness.
Okay, so I did notes of 3 important passages of this reading, and the first one says that Creon Creon explains that a ruler mustn't be weak or show weakness. It also explains how a bad ruler trusts more a very good friend than his own country. That fear influences the decisions of this ruler, that a bad ruler can choose the best decision for his people. And I have a question for this passage. What is Creon arguing about?
He's arguing about the fact that the previous king wasn't as good as he is.
Okay, so the second passage says that Antigone believes that Creon cannot tell her what to do, so she goes and buries Polynesius. She doesn't fear of the punishment of the gods, and she believes in the free thinking of men, who can take its own decisions. Also, she did not fear death because she already knew that if she buried him, she will be. Who is she not afraid of? And the third and last passage says that Creon explains what will he do to Antigone, who has been punished by death. So he explains Corypheus that he will lead her to a cavern where she will live until she dies, with a fair amount of food and without getting out. And the question of this passage is, why does Creon think that Antigone adores Hades, the god of death?
Well, because she wants to marry Polynesius.
So the first passage we chose was one in which the nurse was introduced, because the original story there is no nurse who can help Antigone, and there is no nurse who can hear Antigone's problem. So in Anoil's story, the nurse is the one who keeps her secrets and cannot be as evil as Creon is in the original story. The second passage we choose was the one where Creon says that he wants to save Antigone instead of wanting to kill her, as in the original story, because this part of the story was a little bit weird for us, because in the original story Creon was described as a cruel and merciless ruler. And third passage is when Antigone and him are talking about their love, and we choose this one because in the original story they don't show this couple as as much as in the Anoil's version. In the French guy's version, this love is portrayed to us by Antigone worried about losing her future with him, and without caring about his family and all that stuff.
Sometimes people wouldn't have a worthy burial after murdering someone, and nowadays there is a justice system that determines so. And as in Turkey is that family is always fighting between each other, but also wants the best for them.
Wow.